What is art? Art versus craft. Art, expression of creativity and imagination, valued for emotional or conceptual impact. Craft, skillful work with functional or decorative intent, emphasizing technique and craftsmanship. The Renaissance, 1400 to 1600 AD, defined fine art. Art is a language interpretive elements 1. Form, visual and physical qualities, composition, shape, structure. 2. Materials and techniques, traditional and modern media, artistic processes. 3. Iconography, symbols and imagery conveying deeper meanings. 4. Context, historical, cultural, or personal background influencing meaning. 5. Content, subject matter, themes, and ideas expressed in the artwork. Visual elements, the words, line, contour, line, defines the edges and outline of an object without shading. Directional lines, guide the viewer's eye and convey movement. Vertical, suggests strength, stability, and height. Diagonal, implies action, movement, and dynamism. Horizontal, conveys calmness, rest, and stability. Curved, suggests fluidity, grace, and organic movement. Zigzag, creates a sense of excitement, tension, or chaos. Gesture line, expressive and loose, capturing movement and emotion. Implied line, a visual connection between elements without a continuous mark. Shape and mass, positive shape, the main focus or subject in an artwork. Negative shape, the background or space around the subject. Implied shape, suggested rather than explicitly defined. Reification, the mind's ability to perceive a complete shape from incomplete information. The triangle, a compositional tool used to create stability and balance. Light, actual light, real sources of light within the artwork. Implied light, the illusion of light created through shading and contrast. Contrast, the difference between light and dark areas. Chiaroscuro, a technique using strong contrasts between light and dark to create depth. Color hue, the actual color, for example, red, blue, yellow. Value, the lightness or darkness of a color. Saturation, the intensity or purity of a color. Contrast, the difference between light and dark colors to create depth and interest. Simultaneous contrast, when two complementary colors are placed next to each other, making them appear more vibrant. Afterimage, the lingering perception of color after looking away from an image. Optical color mixture, the blending of colors perceived by the eye rather than physically mixed. Color harmonies, monochromatic, variations of a single color. Complementary, colors opposite on the color wheel, for example, blue and orange. Analogous, colors next to each other on the color wheel, for example, blue, green, yellow. Triadic, 3 colors evenly spaced on the color wheel, for example, red, yellow, blue. Texture and pattern, implied texture, the illusion of texture created through visual elements. Actual texture, the physical quality of a surface that can be felt. Pattern, the repetition of elements like shapes, colors, or lines to create a sense of order and rhythm. Space, actual space, the real, physical space occupied by a sculpture or installation. Implied space, the illusion of depth created in two-dimensional works. Linear perspective, the use of lines converging at a vanishing point to create depth. Foreshortening, the distortion of objects to create the illusion of depth. Atmospheric perspective, the effect of distance on color and detail, making distant objects appear hazier. Isometric perspective, parallel lines remain parallel, often used in technical or stylized drawings. Time and motion, implied motion, the suggestion of movement through composition and form. Actual motion, movement physically occurring within the artwork, for example, kinetic sculptures. Design principles, the grammar, balance, symmetrical balance, equal visual weight on both sides. Asymmetrical balance, different elements balanced to create visual stability. Radial balance, elements arranged around a central point. Unity and variety. Unity, the sense of cohesion and harmony in an artwork. Variety, the use of different elements to create interest and complexity. Emphasis and subordination. Emphasis, directing the viewer's attention to a focal point. Subordination, reducing the impact of certain elements to highlight the focal point. Focal point, the most important part of an artwork that attracts the viewer's attention. Scale and proportion. Scale, the size of an object relative to its surroundings. Proportion, the relationship between the sizes of different elements in an artwork. Relative importance, using proportion to highlight significance within an artwork. Rhythm. Repetition, the repeated use of elements to create movement. Alternation, variations in repeating patterns for visual interest. Progression, gradual changes in elements to guide the viewer's eye through the composition. Important artists and works. Marcel Duchamp, Fountain Cave. Kollwitz, Woman with Dead Child. Edward Weston, Cabbage Leaf. Georgian and El Greco, Adoration of the Shepherds. Janine Antoni Nor. Jan van Eyck. Arnold Fine Portrait. Kara Walker, A Subtlety. Elizabeth Murray, The Sun and Moon. Thomas Eakins, The Biglin Brothers. Henry Cartier-Bresson. Aquila, Abruzzi, Italy. James Turrell, The Rodin Crater, Skylights. Georges Seurat. Sunday afternoon on the island of La Grande Jatte. Doris Sarcedo. Shibboleth. Anish Kapoor. Cloud Gate. Leonardo da Vinci, The Last Supper. Sarah Szed. Various works from TED Talk. Gustav Klimt, Death and Life. Robert Rauschenberg. Windward.